Brendan, you sent this to me yesterday, and I watched this clip. It's Marc Maron on.
Is it a clip? Because this is because I didn't look into it. I didn't see it. I saw this. I'm like, this would be good for the show.
Yeah.
But when I saw it, I'm like, I need to know the context.
There was a
stop,
clip.
real
This
quick.
was Marc Maron on.
Okay.
So did you hear what he just said? He goes, "Is this a clip?" Because I didn't look into it at all.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
okay.
you could tell he was lying in the first place. He's watched this whole thing.
You've watched it, you know.
Yeah.
And clearly he contradicts himself because we'll see. So okay, so right off the bat he goes, I didn't watch this, but let's look at it anyway. Sure, okay. It's silly.
Okay.
On Tom Segura's show.
Do we have the clip?
There's a clip on YouTube somewhere. It's not on this particular.
We go to
article.
it, Jen, because before we talk about Maron, who I actually like, and I think he's a great comic. Before we talked about Maron, he's been on this show and he's one of my favorite podcasters. Him and Rogan started the same year. But I need to see the clip.
I saw what he said. It wasn't.
I think that, you're your own guy. You're your own life. You weren't one of the guys that, rented out space in Joe's ass. And,
yeah.
It's like a human centipede in Austin. It's like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, and 3 middle acts. So
he's being funny.
But you seem to do your own thing.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we have our own, our own.
See, people are going to see that and go like, look at Maron, he's bitter. It's like, why wouldn't I be? Why?
Oh, he's admitted
$100 million for going, I don't know.
This is where I have a problem.
Really?
This is where I have a problem.
It's a lot.
Hey, Rogan's pushing back. I don't know, man.
Let me ask you something. Do you ever see like comedians that are in that circle with Rogan you can visibly see them get a little nervous when people start talking bad about Joe Rogan, even if it's in a joking way, because they know they can't mouth Joe Rogan or they can't agree with anything bad that comes out of anybody else's mouth about Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan is the king and the center of all of that.
Oh yeah.
And a big portion of their careers was because of Joe Rogan.
One could argue that, yes. But yeah, they do get very timid about like, uh-oh, should I laugh? Uh-oh.
Yeah. I just see that in Tom Segura right now because I don't know, like he's already like almost tensed up a little bit, or like
yeah, but he laughed,
laughing through it, but almost in a kind of a nervous way, like where's this going to go?
Yeah. Well, so let's just, before we play anymore, obviously he's joking, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That Marc Maron, it's safe to say we can call him a legendary comedian at this point.
Absolutely.
Is on a podcast being funny.
Yeah.
Why would you take issue, especially if you are a comedian like Brendan Schaub is supposed to be? Why would you take issue with anything he's saying, period?
Because it's strictly about Rogan.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. Let's listen to more then.
Okay.
And so
that's fair. He's being funny.
Yeah. But I'm not going to sit here and accept
definitely
Austin as the next Shangri-La.
Yeah.
Because people always forget to finish the sentence, Hey, man, I'm moving to Austin. Texas? Yes.
Yeah. It's still Texas.
Oh, it's really Texas.
It's really Texas.
It's like the hipster Alamo. It's this little enclave.
It does feel like you're totally in a different universe. Like, obviously, it's the most time I've ever spent there. Usually you come in, you do a weekend of shows, right? But it is not like any other Texas experience,
No, I've always liked it.
I mean, I think what he said was funny, and he's being silly. Joe's fine. Joe will be fine on it.
My only problem is when he goes, them giving $100 million to Rogan for his pushback's going, oh, really, man? Like, that's the only where I don't agree with Maron.
Okay. Does Brendan Schaub have cotton balls in his mouth?
No, that's tobacco.
He earns his living speaking. Can you believe that?
I don't know why you'd want to do that.
Are you insulted by that?
It's weird. I would not put chew in my mouth.
He already has a speech impediment. Yeah. And then he puts things in his mouth to make it worse.
Yeah.
And no one around him, like, is everyone just afraid to go, hey, bro, you sound dumb? No one will say that to him. No one calls him on that. They're like, hey, by the way, sponsors are giving you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard him do an ad read?
Well, yeah, you've sent me a couple, actually.
Dude. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Callan knows that none of this would even close to upset Joe Rogan. And he's saying that Marc Maron's trying to be funny, and he is trying to be funny. Brendan Schaub is choosing to take offense to it because it's, I guess, in bad taste towards Joe Rogan, right?
I'm glad you said that. So Brian Callen, again, not necessarily my cup of tea when it comes to comedy. He's been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
That, on top of the fact that he has known Joe for a long time, probably knows that Joe wouldn't care about this.
Right.
So to start, he understands nuance and context and understands when someone's being funny. But to your point about he knows Joe's not going to care. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, who cares if Joe Rogan's offended by that? Do you think Marc Maron gives a fuck?
Right.
He doesn't care. Marc Maron doesn't care if Joe Rogan's offended by what he said. So that's my whole thing about this is like, because Brian Callen understands nuance and context because he's been doing comedy for so long, maybe he should have stopped that conversation and said, hey, Brendan, you don't understand, man. This is what you're going to need to do to be a better stand-up comedian. You need to start understanding when someone's joking. Right. And he doesn't. And I think a large part of that is his mashed potato brain. But I think at the end of the day, also, I think he's a sensitive person who doesn't respond well to criticism and doesn't respond well to just any, like he said, like, oh, he's throwing shade. How can someone, the first part of their statement says, yeah, that person got $100 million. How can you even throw shade at someone who has $100 million in the bank? Marc Maron doesn't have $100 million in the bank.
Right.
So you're throwing shade? No. He basically said, he set it up to be like, yeah, of course I'm bitter.
Right.
I am bitter because the guy got $100 million to do nothing, essentially is what he said.
To do, well, but what he's
Joking.
he's saying, well, but he's saying it in a way that, because he does the same thing. I mean, Marc Maron's been a podcaster forever. So it's like,
Right.
He's like, I don't do anything. I just talk. That's what Joe Rogan is doing. And he's getting $100 million to do it. So he's basically mouthing himself by joking and bad mouthing Joe Rogan. It's funny.
Yeah. I would say,
But also you said, that Brian Callen needs to kind of push back on Brendan. I don't think that's the dynamic here anymore. I don't think he has the option to do that anymore.
It's never been the dynamic. I don't think they're really friends. And you're going to see in this.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that Brian Callen's back now after everything that happened to him. And when he was gone, this became Brendan's show. Brendan had probably moved, or, he's the one that makes all the moving parts happen now. And Brian is just kind of back on the show. And he probably doesn't want to push back that much because of, he's afraid that this is going to go away for him.
Yeah. No, you're right.
At least until Callen's career comes back full force again. I don't know if he's can't stand up comedy anymore.
He is. I think he's fine.
But still. Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that. So you think it's Brendan's show. So in this part you're about to play, let's count how many times he interrupts Brian Callen.
Well,
like that's not why Rogan got 100 million. Like you can't say Rogan's not a good.
Yeah, but he's
podcaster.
joking. I mean, obviously we know that.
Again, that's shade for sure.
Okay,
that's shade for
it's
sure.
a little shade, but it's fine.
But also, it's the
I
same,
thought it was funny.
But it's the same. The parts were really funny.
Yeah.
But there, and I do like Maron. But there is, Rogan's the cool kid in town. And everybody knows he got $100 million. So it's like with Drake, like if you're an upcoming rap, and not that Marc Maron's up and coming, but if you're like a rapper that's big in the field, like if you're gonna take shots, you're gonna take shots at Drake because A, he's not gonna respond. He's killing. And right. B, like he's the head honcho.
Yeah, we're just fucking around. Everybody's friends.
Well, they're not friends.
Okay, 3.
Yeah, but they're fine with each other. I mean, Mark and Joe have known each other for 26 years, 27
They're
years.
not friends, though.
4.
Okay, but they're not enemies. They're not.
They don't fuck with each other.
5.
I've known those guys together for a long time, and I've had conversations about them with each other, and there's not animosity. It just isn't. They're just different people. They're very different people with very different audiences. I would say that.
Yeah, I agree. There's one's jazz, one's fucking
100%.
hard rock.
Just different, but
like, and both are great at
both
podcasting.
had
Like
great value.
Well, dude, both are. I mean,
yeah.
They're two completely different.
I think what Mark said was actually funny, and he was being silly, and it's just a podcast, and he's saying shit.
But I get with Maron, like everyone's saying Austin's like the end all be all. Like
and I agree with
for LA
what he's
guys,
saying.
it's like dude, shut the fuck up.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm with him.
Yeah,
I'm with him.
I mean, I was like,
but the only part where I don't ride with Mark was like, dude, 100 million for being like, I guess I don't know.
All right, we can stop there.
Yeah,
that was 8 times I counted where you just whatever you're saying doesn't matter. Did he just compare Joe Rogan to Drake and Marc Maron to an up and coming rapper who this is
He
Drake?
did. He did. Yeah.
He
But
just
I
really doesn't get
I
things.
I feel like part of this too is just to purposely force confrontation with Callan too. So he's got to have an opposing thought against what Callan's saying, on top of the fact that he can't let anybody badmouth Joe Rogan either. So he's just trying his hardest to play opposition all around.
Yeah, I just think he doesn't understand. I think there's a little bit of it that he does want to oppose Callan, and that in order for them to have some sort of banter, there needs to be different opinions. But I just think he doesn't get it.
Now,
I don't think he knows.
Yeah, okay, so yes, but also if you dumb it down to, if it was you and a good friend of yours, or if it's us two and we're talking to somebody else about somebody who one of us thinks is bad mouthing us. So like if I'm talking to somebody that I think is bad mouthing you, I'm probably going to be on the defensive too. You know what I'm saying?
What if they're trying to be funny?
Well,
what if they're like, oh, he
you
spends too much time on his hair and his appearance?
You see, and I was going to say,
Did you laugh at that?
I've been in this scenario before, but
what'd you do? Were you a good friend?
No, I was like, yeah, I know.
Was
I hate
the
that
Joe
guy.
Rogan of that
He's
situation?
a terrible person. But you know what I'm saying? Like he's trying to be on the defensive. He's just in the defensive on like way too deep for no reason.
Yeah, well, obviously, I think, yeah. But look, man, people are going to hate on Joe Rogan. You need to live with that, bro. Like he's the center of the podcast and comedy universe right now.
Yeah.
You know, a guy like Marc Maron's going to have plenty to say about it.
I mean, we're hating on Brendan Schaub, but in reality, let's look at his bank account compared to ours. And
is it just about money?
Well, also he puts out a lot of content in various different ways.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that we can hate on him too, but there's got to be some respect there too for what he's doing.
That's where we're going with this. That's why we played that clip.
That's the part I'm playing.
For you to say you respect Brendan Schaub. Look, I mean, yeah, of course, he's doing his thing. Yeah, I'm a hater. He doesn't like haters, but he likes to be one. You know, if it impacts or if it reaches his inner circle of fuckery, he doesn't like it. Right. But he can do it. They did that show. They watch clips of people. That's the other thing too. Like, at what point do you just go, "Oh, I'm a hypocrite"? You know, it's almost like the only people who are allowed to speak on their community are people who are within the community. A person like you or I can't, because we're just who we are, and we don't have as much money, and we this and that. But like, no, anyone. That's what the internet is.
Well, it's kind of also if you reverse the people in that scenario. So if Callan and Schaub were watching a video of Tom Segura and Marc Maron, and Tom Segura was the one that was saying these things instead of Maron, Schaub would not have said anything. He would have agreed with everything Segura said,
probably,
and joked around about it and laughed.
Probably.
So it's perspective of whose mouth it's coming out of too.
Can I tell you the one problem I had with what Marc Maron said?
What's that?
Is the fact that he gave Tom Segura a pass because he was like in the studio with him. He was on a show. He was like, yeah, you're your own guy. You didn't follow Joe here. Right.
Oh, I see.
Like, no, he kind of did. I mean, but look, I don't know. Look, him and Joe Rogan have fucking families, dude. Like, they're going to move wherever they think is best for their family. You know, at the end of the day. But Marc Maron speaking to like those single, comedians in their 30s who moved there because they thought Joe was going to start essentially the new Comedy Store, and it was going to be the center of the universe for comedy. So they followed him there. Good for them.
Right.
They're working. Who cares? But I get why Marc Maron needs to make fun of that and needs to joke about that.
But the thing is that they're still touring.
Sure.
I mean, they're touring, like
just living in a different place now.
Segura has a massive tour coming up.
Yeah.
And just because he lives in Austin now instead of LA doesn't change his touring schedule and stuff like that. He's still out there doing his thing. So,
well, I just think there are a lot of guys who made their way through, or I guess made their way by living in Los Angeles and have sort of committed to the idea that, no, I'm not just going to move just because. I think they're a little annoyed by it. I would be if I lived there and I made my living as a comedian. And now I hear about, oh, because Joe Rogan left, I have to move somewhere else. So I can't do comedy from here. I can't earn my living here. I would be annoyed by it. And then I would joke about it like Marc Maron did. That's why I'm a comedian. I'm not a comedian, but if I was, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to talk shit. You're supposed to try to be funny.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you or I or Brendan or Brian don't think what he said was funny. Tom laughed.
Yeah.
Someone else probably laughed. So it doesn't matter. You know? And it's only going to get worse. People are going to keep poking fun at Joe Rogan. I hope he knows that, and I hope his friends know that. It's going to keep happening.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, you're poking the bear on somebody who doesn't care. They're still the one that has $100 million in the bank.
Yeah.
You don't. So,
and again, who cares if he does care though?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Even if he did care, what's he going to do?
Nothing.
You know, wheel kick Marc Maron? Like, what's he going to do? Like, it's like, who cares? I don't know. It was interesting because again, like my whole thing is like, here. Okay. I guess here's why I bring that up. As a content creator, which we both are, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not going to speak for you, but as a content creator, I would want someone who A, does a show with me, which was what Brian Callen is, or B, is my friend, or a combination of both. The latter of those two, I'm not so sure about those, if Brian Callen is actually his friend. But I would want someone who works with me or creates things with me or is a friend of mine to let me know when I'm being, at the very least, silly. I just think some of his friends should just go to him and, hey, bro, I don't think you get it. He was being funny. And I think you shouldn't say which part of it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Or just say, nah, it's not funny. But not care that he's throwing shade.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do
It's an odd thing for someone who earns their living as a comedian to publicly speak out against on their own podcast. It's odd to me.
Yeah. Do you want to listen to any more of this or no?
No, fuck him.
Okay.
I think Brian Callen had the right reaction to it. Like, he's just being funny. He's being silly. Get over it. Get over it.
Yeah.
But I don't think Brendan's brain will allow him to understand the context of that situation. You know?
I think he can.
I could be wrong.
I think he can. I don't think it's that simple. I think it's just a matter of he's forcefully not doing it because he's so loyal to Joe Rogan, and he doesn't want anybody bad-mouthing Joe Rogan, and he wants to be at the forefront of basically throwing shade at somebody who's throwing shade at Rogan.
See, I think what you're saying is worse than what I'm saying.
Maybe so.
You're calling him a dick rider without calling him a dick rider. I'm saying he's stupid. Which one is worse?
I'm trying.
I think it's a combination of both. That's what I think, dude.